This 15-year-old Travis is in big trouble. He lives in Arkansas and is kind of a tad. He's always stealing things and getting suspended from school. But one day in 1996, he decides to go for a really big score. He's going to rob one of the houses in the neighborhood, and he's going to do it with his other friend, Andre. And so Travis and Andre, they bike over to the house, but they decided that instead of robbing a house, they should rob two houses. Like Travis robs one and Andre robs the mansion. And kaboom, it's decided. And so Travis breaks into this house and is combing through things to steal. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a Toyota pulls up outside and Andre is driving it. Where the hell did he suddenly get a car? And so Travis goes to figure out what's going on and Andre is panicking. And he tells him, I went to rob that mansion and I thought people weren't home, but they actually were home. So I pulled out my gun and kaboom! I executed both of them. He then stole their Toyota and drove it up to pick Travis. And now he's like, Travis should go back with him to the mansion to help him dispose of the bodies. And Travis hears all this and is like, alright. And so the two of them, they head over to the mansion to dispose these two bodies. And the bodies are still there. They try to move the bodies, but unfortunately for them, these corpses are way too heavy for these teenage boys to move. And so they decide to light up the whole place to burn up all the evidence. They then get into the stolen Toyota and they flee the scene. And they drive about a mile away and suddenly, boom, they crash the Toyota and they flip it on its side. Then they climb out of it and they run away on foot. Meanwhile, a local resident is driving down the road and he sees the wrecked Toyota flipped on its side and he's like, what's happening? And so he eventually goes to the mansion to check on the owner of the car and he sees that the place is on fire. He then alerts the police and fire department and they arrive after a few minutes. And that is when they find the two bodies inside. And so police investigate all this and they put out a reward of $10,000 for anyone who can give them information that would lead to an arrest. About a month later, they finally get some information that Travis was involved. So they go to his house and question him, but Travis wasn't talking. He didn't admit to anything. And so they end up forcing him to take a polygraph test and he passes. But anyway, they make him take another one and he passes again. And then they make him take a third one and he passes again. But the police are sure that Travis was involved in this crime. So somehow they get him to take a fourth polygraph test and this time he fails. And finally police are able to use this as leverage to get him to confess. Now Travis ends up confessing to breaking into the houses and stealing stuff, but he says he didn't shoot anyone. He says it was Andre who shot and unalived the two people in the mansion, not him. However, because he just did confess to breaking into the houses and stealing stuff, boom, they arrested him for that. The police takes Travis' fingerprints and they end up being a match to fingerprints found in the wrecked Toyota, while they don't find any fingerprints of Andre or any evidence that Andre did anything. And therefore, police pinned the whole crime on teenage Travis, including the murders. And so Travis had no choice. He has to take a plea deal. So he pleads guilty and gets sentenced to 28 years in prison. But here's where the story really gets crazy. One of those two people shot in the mansion that day was Sally. And Sally has an adult daughter named Martha. And after Sally is murdered, Martha inherits the mansion from her. So she moves in, renovates it, and turns it into a bed and breakfast. Now, despite all the horrible things that Martha has just gone through, with the mother passing, and by all accounts, Martha is the nicest woman ever. She's also a Buddhist and so she likes to practice forgiveness. And so she starts writing letters to Travis while he's in prison. And they are writing letters back and forth and over time they strike up some sort of a close friendship. Now, despite pleading guilty, Travis has always maintained that he didn't murder those people. it was Andre. But people don't really believe him. They are like, yeah, sure, you're innocent. But strangely enough, Martha does believe him. I mean, yeah, she knows he did break into the houses and that he stole stuff, but that it wasn't actually him who unalived her mom that day. That it was the other kid. And because of this, she wants to help Travis out in whatever way she can. She feels bad for him, so she asks the police to reopen the case and investigate the whole thing again. She gives Travis' mother work and hires her as a housekeeper, and she essentially becomes an advocate for Travis. And then 20 years goes by, and now it's 2018, and Travis is around 37 years old. And it's at this time that Travis serves his sentence and finally gets out. And he gets out of prison partly because Martha had helped him and given statements to the parole board on his behalf. So she ends up offering him a job at the mansion as a groundskeeper. And this is a really good deal for him, so he takes the job. And crazy enough, it seems like this friendship has really worked out for him, and that is starting to finally turn his life around. About a year goes by, and Travis is still working at the mansion. And one day, things all go bad. On that day, Martha ends up selling one of the chandeliers in the house to someone for $10,000, and that person pays her cash. And she stashes the cash in one of the rooms in the mansion until she has time to run to the bank. And old Travis, he just happens to be working that day. And he also happens to learn of that transaction. So he waits. He waits until no one's around, and he sneaks into the room where the $10,000 was stashed, and he swipes it. The next day, Martha notices her money is gone. And unfortunately, there's only one person around at that time who could have taken it, the groundskeeper, Travis. And this absolutely destroys Martha. Like, how could he steal from her after everything he has done for her all these years? And so, sadly, she unfortunately goes to him and she fires him. And of course, Travis is pissed. Like, how can she fire him? This isn't fair, and he isn't going to let this slide. About a month later, he decides to go to get his revenge. Outside, and Travis sneaks over back to Martha's house and he creeps in through the back door, because he's going to rob her and take more from her. But Martha, she's actually home, and she hears someone in the house messing around. And so she hits her alarm button, and this alerts the police back at the station. And then at some point, boom, Travis sees Martha, and there's a confrontation. And that is when he pulls out a knife and stabs her. He stabs her again and again and again until she's unalived. Then Travis wraps her in a pile of blankets and clothes and pours a flammable liquid all over her. It seems like he's going to try to burn the evidence again. But just then, the police showed up because Martha had hit the alarm. And so officers, they go into the house and they hear Travis. And so officer, come out with your hands up. And Travis is like, fuck you. And he jumps out of the bathroom window and falls down on the ground. He runs over to his car that he came in and hops in it and flees across Martha's massive lawn. And of course, police are right behind him chasing him. But boom, his car gets stuck. And so he gets out and runs back across the massive lawn and he jumps into a nearby lake. I guess he's trying to swim his way out of this, but unfortunately for him, it doesn't seem like he can swim. And he ends up drowning in that lake.